Hello, everyone. Super Jinxie here with what I hope is a super simple tutorial about how to make TikToks using your VTuber model. I get this question a lot, I think because people are curious about how you actually can film a TikTok with your model and then get it uploaded to the platform. So I thought it might be easier to just make a quick tutorial video showing you my method, and hopefully this helps. Today, we're going to talk about which tools you might actually need to film, the recording process itself. We're also going to cover a very little bit of editing should you need to do that. I know that I certainly need to edit mine. And then finally, how to actually get your content uploaded to TikTok. So without further ado, let's get started. So before we actually get into how to record our TikTok, let's talk a little bit about what we actually need to get started. Of course, today you will need your 2D or 3D model. This tutorial will work fine for either. Just know that the actual software that you use to display your model might vary depending on which type you use. You will also need a TikTok account if you don't already have one. In addition to that, we will be relying pretty heavily today on some form of streaming software. We won't actually be streaming today, but I found that the recording function that lives within streaming software is actually really great for making TikToks. So today I will be using OBS Studio, but I'll also be providing some information on how to accomplish this using Streamlabs OBS, since I understand that is equally as popular when it comes to software. We will also need your phone, as well as either a USB cable or some place where you can upload files online. The reason being is that you're most likely going to wind up recording the video on your computer, but actually uploading from your phone, since TikTok is largely a mobile platform and offers like the largest variety of options for editing within their mobile app. So that would be pretty important for today. Lastly, but certainly not least, this is optional, but I do highly recommend doing a little bit of light editing on your video prior to even bringing it into TikTok software. So you would need some form of video editing software to do that. I use DaVinci Resolve, which is free, and I find it to be pretty easy to use. There are also a lot of tutorials for how to use it as well, but you can use any software that works best for you. All right, so before we can actually make a TikTok, we have to figure out what kind of TikTok we're making and which sound we're going to use. I frequently will favorite sounds that I find funny or interesting and might want to use for later. For today's purposes, I think I'm going to use this one.
Dude, I'm telling you, gaming is my therapy. You fucking piece of shit!
Yeah, that one sounds hilarious, and I have an idea that I could use for Dead by Daylight, since I play that game frequently and often do get a little more tilted than I would ever care to admit. So we have a sound, we have a concept. Let's hop over to our PC and get started on actually recording. Starting out in OBS Studios, we really want to take some time to prepare our canvas and make sure that our settings are correct before we start recording anything. It can be a huge pain if you have to go back and tweak things later, so let's do it now. We're going to start out by going to File and Settings, and then once we're here, we're going to go to Output. The thing that we want to do here is just make sure that we are recording in an MP4 format. Typically OBS has a different default, but MP4 will be the best for our uses today. After that, we want to head on over to the Video tab and change our resolution from 1920 by 1080 to the reverse. This is going to ensure that we have the right format for TikTok and that everything lines up correctly. I would also double check your FPS here just to make sure that you are recording at the highest available. And we want to do that anytime that we're recording to make sure that we get the best possible quality. So that's great. We've got ourselves set up with the basics. Now let's hop on over to Streamlabs OBS and see how we can do the same thing there. So in Streamlabs, we're going to go to the settings icon, which is the little gear at the bottom left. And then we're going to head over to output. And there we're going to click on recording. So here we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to change our recording format to MP4. Also a good idea to check your recording path and make sure you know where the recording will actually go. Now let's head over to video and update our resolution just like we did in OBS Studio. And of course, we do want to check our frames per second. This can be pretty important if you are actually doing video editing as well, since you want everything to sync up. Now that we've adjusted the settings in our recording software of choice, it is time for us to set up our scene and actually record our TikTok. I mentioned earlier that I wanted to make a TikTok about Dead by Daylight, so I am including a picture of the iconic trapper in my backdrop, just for a little bit of game recognition to help people get the meme. But outside of that, I'm not really adding anything else. So in terms of the actual recording process, at this point, I just play the sound on my phone. I have looked all over for a more elegant way of doing this, but as I mentioned previously, TikTok is a mobile app, so your broadest range of features are going to be available on your phone. I do know that if you have a video using the sound that you'd like to record with, you can look it up on the TikTok desktop app, but that has not always worked out well for me, so I literally just play the sound on my phone and I make faces and try to get the lip sync as close as I possibly can while recording in OBS using VTube Studio. I definitely recommend doing this part in clips. So in other words, I will try to film one portion and then stop the recording and start again to do a second portion of the track. That may not be what works best for everyone, but as I mentioned previously, I do like to edit my TikToks, so that's what works best for me. At this stage, it's time to watch our clips back. We really just need to select our favorites and then drag them over into our video editing software of choice. As I mentioned, I am using DaVinci Resolve, and in the top left corner, you'll see that I've already dropped my preferred clips into the media pool. From there, I can actually just drag them into my timeline on the Edit tab so that I can begin to make any cuts or edits that I really feel like making. Now is when I start watching the clips back in my timeline just to verify that they sync properly with the track. So I will actually play the TikTok track on my phone and just kind of watch it over and over again to make sure that it makes sense. Anytime that I see that it doesn't quite sync the way that it should, I will begin making cuts. You can actually do this just by marking the portion of the clips that you'd like to remove and then using the razor tool in DaVinci Resolve to just cut those out as you see fit. The process isn't always perfect. You may make cuts and then see that, oh, I actually do want to keep that portion, or maybe I want to cut somewhere else on the timeline. That's not a problem. That's what they make Control-Z for. So don't be afraid to hit Control-Z and just undo anything that didn't make sense to you. You may notice that I have this cool shaking effect that I added at the end of my clip. That was actually done in the Fusion tab of DaVinci. I won't be covering that today, but if you are interested in learning some fun, basic video editing effects, just let me know in the comments and maybe we'll do those next. Now that we've edited our TikTok clip to our liking, the final step is just to export so that we can actually get it onto TikTok. This happens on the Deliver tab in DaVinci Resolve, and you'll see that I again have selected MP4 as our format. The resolution for the video matches everything that we had set in OBS, and of course you want to pick where you're saving that and what the title is. Once I've done that, I'm going to add this clip to my render queue and render all. Once we've successfully exported our video, it is time to move it to our phone. As I mentioned earlier, you can do this either by connecting your phone to your computer using the appropriate USB cable, or you can use some sort of file sharing website like Google Drive, which you can then upload your video there and download it to your phone. Either way, the point is for us to be able to get this video to our phone. Once you've done that, you can open up the TikTok app, select your clip, and begin editing. Once you see what you have on the screen, you can hit next, which will expand some of the options. You'll actually be able to add some of the TikTok specific effects. You can add text, stickers, etc. Today, the first thing that I want to do is actually add the sound that we've been listening to and using this whole time for our TikTok. So once I press sounds and then hit favorites, I can navigate to the sound that we used. And luckily I do recognize it according to its icon. So I'm going to select that now. Once you've selected your sound and made any other additional edits that you wanted to your TikTok, it's time to finish this. So you can enter in a description, hashtags, you can choose to allow comments or duets or stitches, whatever that looks like for you. You'll just want to polish this up and ensure that all information is entered. And once you're done, you can hit post. And there we have it. If all went according to plan, you should have been able to upload a video using your VTuber model to TikTok. Please note, this is certainly not the only way to accomplish this goal. I think another method that you could use, especially if it would be beneficial to you to have the TikTok audio track on your desktop, would be to maybe download a video that is already using that track. You could do that on your phone and then maybe send it to yourself or download it to your computer afterward. And at that point, you could just play the track directly from your desktop or even edit it into your video, depending on your level of comfort. There's certainly more than one way to skin a cat. So this is just the way that I prefer to do it. If you have any tips for maybe how to make this process more seamless or want to share how you've done this, please comment down below. As I said previously, I'm always looking for ways to make this a little more efficient and to get better myself. So I'm definitely open to anything that you have. With that said, I am going to end our tutorial here. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that this was helpful. And if you did enjoy learning with me today, please like, comment, subscribe. Also feel free to give me a follow over on Twitch at super_Jinxie or Twitter at super_Jinxie. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.